This is for the children that are doing the workbook pages and that did lesson 6 last week. Remember, boys and girls, anytime you need to pause the video so that you can just look at the answers on the page, that's fine. Hope you're doing well. Okay, this was for lesson 6, supporting inferences about informational texts. You can see some things that I underlined that you probably underlined at the beginning of the year, or if you haven't, look over there. It just sort of explains again what inferences are. It says that many times when you're reading information, the main idea will be stated directly, but this is what I underlined. Other times, however, you must figure out an important idea on your own. To do this, use text evidence and what you already know from experience to make an inference or a sensible guess. Now, the chart over here was referring to the cartoon. And as you can see, here are the answers. I'm going to read them off, so you may want to pause this to check with your answers. It said what the cartoon shows. Okay, there were several things the cartoon showed, but the most relevant things were smoke and fire is coming out of the boy's ears, and there's a bottle of hot sauce on the table. Also, there is hot sauce on the boy's plate. Now, if you had room, you could also say there's a girl across from him that's asking the question, do you want more hot sauce? But it looks like she's just teasing because he's had plenty. Now, in the what I know column, what I know from experience is that hot sauce can be very spicy and that using too much sauce can be painful. So my inference is the boy added too much hot sauce to his food. Okay, for lesson 2, this was the travels of the potato. The close reader habits says, think about key details in the passage that help you make inferences, then underline key details that describe the events that brought the potato to Europe. This is what I underlined. The first sentence, the potato plant is native to the Andes mountain region of South America. The second sentence, this is where it first appeared and thrived. Then in paragraph 1, the sentence starting with during the 1500s, Spanish explorers to that region encountered the potato. And the last sentence in paragraph 1, by the 1600s, potatoes were grown in many places in Spain. Then go down to paragraph 2, I underlined the word doctors, and then part of the sentence right below that, used it to treat common illnesses. By the early 1700s, potatoes were being raised in England as a food crop. So here it is if you just want to pause and check your answers with the book. Okay, in the chart going across, this is what the text evidence said. Sorry. This is what the book put in there for us. The potato plant is native to the Andes mountain region of South America. Spanish explorers had never seen it before. By the 1600s, potatoes were grown in many places in Spain. Okay, this is what we can know from experience. People who travel often must eat new foods. People who travel bring things home with them. And farmers want to grow good food crops. So, under my inference, you could say Spanish explorers decided that potatoes were good to eat. Spanish explorers brought the potato back to Spain, and people in Spain started raising potatoes for food. In the second part of the chart, this was given to us in the text. By the early 1700s, potatoes were being raised in England as a food crop, and also the plants grew well in the cool, moist climate. What I know from experience is that plants need certain conditions so they will grow well. And our inference could be the climates of the Andes Mountains, Spain, England, and other places are similar. So here are the answers here if you just want to pause it and compare it to yours. Okay, now at the bottom there's a short response. Explain how and why the use of the potato spread to other countries. Include at least 3 text details as support, and use the space on page 86. So go to page 86. I'm going to look at the teacher book for an example of a good writing. And yours, of course, is not going to be exactly like this, but hopefully it is close. Okay, the example writing says, in the 1500s, Spanish explorers learned to eat potatoes in South America in the Andes Mountains. They carried potatoes on their boats back to Spain. The use of the potato spread from there to other countries. It became a major food crop in England and Ireland. The potato thrives in places where the climate is cool and moist. And remember, the word thrives means grows really well and is healthy. Okay, let's go back to lesson 3, which is fruit of the bog. This was about the cranberry. And if you'll look at the close reader habits at the bottom on page 84, it says, what are growing conditions like in Massachusetts and Wisconsin? As you reread the article, underline details that tell about conditions all cranberries need to grow. If you look, it's most of the second half of paragraph 2 was underlined. And that just says, they, meaning cranberries, grow best in bogs. They need an acid peat soil, a steady water supply, and a covering of sand. The growing season must last from April to November, followed by a dormant period in the winter. Okay, look at question 1 on page 85. What inference can you make about Wisconsin based on details in the article? The best answer is C. It provides the conditions needed for growing cranberries. Part B, choose one piece of evidence from the article that best supports the answer in Part A. That answer is D. However, since 1995, the state of Wisconsin has been the top cranberry producer. And then if you'll go over to the chart on page 87, you can see these answers. Basically, what the text says, the part we underlined, I just wrote it there. Then what I know from experience, fruits need certain conditions to thrive. And my inference is that Massachusetts and Wisconsin must have the conditions that cranberries need. Okay, I guess it's lesson 4. This is called Why Salt? Valuable Little Cubes. I thought this was very interesting. It has a picture here about the Roman soldiers getting paid in salt. Okay, there was another picture here that when people started eating less meat and eating more of the crops they grew, they had to find other ways to get salt in their diets. Okay, look at page 91, number 1. Part A, what inference can you make based on the information in paragraph 3? Let me just read paragraph 3 and you think about that. As Rome grew, it became a great trading center, and salt was one of the main items traded there. Salt was so important in the daily lives of the Romans that soldiers were paid in blocks of salt. This pay was called salarium argentum, or salt money, giving us our word salary. In fact, the word soldier comes from the Latin soldare, meaning to give salt. Okay, so on number 1, part A, B is the best answer. Salt was so valued by Romans that it was used as a form of pay. Part B, which two sentences from the text provide the best support for your answer in Part A? A is one. This was called salarium argentum, or salt money. And D, the word soldier comes from the Latin soldere, meaning to give salt. Then number 2, underline two sentences in the paragraph below that best support the idea that our bodies need salt. You can look at all of these answers here. Look at page 92, number 3. The salt transported over the salt road helped Rome to become a great and important trading center. Which 3 details from the text provide the best support for that inference? A, people who controlled salt had power. C, around 2,000 years ago, some of the people with salt and power were the Romans. And D, one way Rome controlled salt was by building villages along the Mediterranean coast. Number 4, part A. Read the sentence from paragraph 4. The history of the world is overflowing with stories of salt. What does the word overflowing mean as it is used in this sentence? B, overly full of. Part B, underline 3 sentences in the paragraph below that provide the best support for your answer in Part A, and I'll let you look at all of these for just a moment. Okay, for your short response, it said, how is the value of salt different today than it was in ancient Roman times? Include 3 details from the article to support your response. So this is what the teacher book said. The role of salt has changed. In the past, salt was so valuable it was used as money. Roads were built around Italy to transport salt to Rome. During wars, one side tried to keep salt from its enemies to weaken their soldiers. Today, salt is easy to buy inexpensively in the store. It is so available and inexpensive in the present that restaurants let customers use it for free. So it's a lot of difference between the past and the present dealing with salt. Okay, now guys, this week is spring break week. And so if you want to do, or if your parents want you to do the language pages at the end, you're certainly welcome to do that. I will do a video next week with those answers. So that begins on 464 and ends at basically the end of the workbook. Have a great spring break week.